This is a quick tutorial about the basic broadcast board in the WGDR studio and how to troubleshoot a couple of the most common issues that come up. Now, most folks are pretty familiar with the basic operations of the board, which is that our three mics are the first three channels on the board. To put a microphone on the air, you hit the power button so that it's on. This will turn off the speakers in the studio. The fader needs to be up on the board about halfway. And you also need to make sure that you've got the A button enabled, the program button enabled, and usually also the telephone button enabled. All three of these need to be in red in order for the board to broadcast the microphone. Now, the most common thing is that somebody either just hasn't simply turned on the on button or somebody's messed with one of these buttons up here. Just make sure those are all on and all three mics should work as usual. Now, the next number 4 channel is not currently in use. This is our old mic mixer. We then have the telephone channel, which operates just like anything else on the board. In order to put a telephone call on, watch the second video. That's about how to use the Comrex telephone program in here. That's how to use the studio phone that rings in through the black Comrex board and eventually comes to the phone. But the way you would do that is like anything else, again, on the board. You would turn on the channel, you would put the fader up, and you want to make sure for this one that you only have the A and the program enabled. We actually don't want the telephone button on because that would create feedback for the caller. Now, this is the robot channel, which will be most often on for people. This is channel number 6, and you can see this one's engaged right now. We've got the on button on, the level up. It's got telephone program and A for the robot, and you can see that the view meters are going. A quick note on view meters, you want them pretty much bouncing right up to the 0. So if you're ever in here, especially if the robot's on and it's pretty low like that, you want to increase it just a little bit so that it is bouncing up to the 0, maybe every once in a while a little bit into the red, but that's the level that you want it at for good broadcast level. The next channel, number 7, is only exclusively for Studio B. That's our production room, which can go live from Studio B. So if you ever have somebody back there that's ready to do a show, you'd turn them up just like if they were a CD player. Again, on button, fader would go up. And up here, this is the big difference, you would want it in B for Studio B, program, and then also telephone. That's how this one would work. Now, next, you want CD1, CD2, and CD3. They're all in order here. Same kind of idea to put a CD player on. We don't have remote control for the CD players, so you have to push play at the CD player itself and make sure that your board is ready to go over here. So on button, volume up, again, A, program, and telephone for CD1. On for CD2, again, A, program, and telephone for CD2. This used to have the pit, which is not connected to the board anymore, an old live broadcast area in the studio, in the station. And then we've got CD3, same idea, on button. And this one, we actually want it in B for CD3, which is labeled up here, program and telephone. This one also used to have a cassette tape deck plugged into channel 10, but we don't have that anymore either. And then finally, over here, our last 2 channels, we've got channel 11, which is the computer, the PC that's here in the studio. Same kind of idea. You can play off anything off of, online here. So your USB jump drive files, anything off the iTunes, promos, streaming services, that kind of stuff. Turn it on, fader up. And over here, once again, this one's wired into B for the computer, so it should be in B, program, and telephone. And then finally, the mixer, which is for turntables, and the aux cords, your digital devices. You have the on button here, fader up, and this one is A, program, and telephone. That is a quick overview of the program board. Now, let's show you a little bit up close about the volume controls. So we've got our main studio volume controls.
Spiritual exercises.
And for it to be the real-time studio, you want it here at the top button for audio. If you want the delay time, in other words, what is on for the delay, the 10-second delay, you actually want this button right here, which will give us, again, what's coming out of the
with other people. Sometimes we do it in reflection and prayer, sometimes in meditation. But Emerson.
All right, so for speakers here, right now, the only thing that works with the speakers is the real-time audio. Now, this is real-time for you sitting here in the studio. You don't need to worry about this button here, delayed time. This actually doesn't give you anything different, and you won't hear anything in the speakers right now. Real time is what's right here in here with you. The delay device takes care of putting a delay on the actual content coming out of the overall studio out to the transmitter. So that's actually not something you ever can hear. You'd have to go out into the lobby to hear the little radio playing out there to hear the time, the 10 seconds later that everyone else is hearing. So you really only ever need the top monitor plugged in. We got headphones next, which you can hear the headphones. Same idea, you only want the top button plugged in. Anything like audition, telephone, cue is setting it into a different function. Now, if you wanted to cue it, to hear one of these channels, put in cue to say hear the turntable or something, you'd have to turn the cue on for the channel of the equipment you want to use and the cue button on your headphones to be able to hear through your headphones what you're trying to cue up. You can also do this for your speakers, but always make sure to turn it back to the A buttons so that the speakers and the main headphones are getting the main feed out of the program board. Now this last one has nothing going on with it, and these last two sets of buttons have nothing else going on for it either. Now, a quick thing to know is that this board is getting pretty old. Sometimes the speaker knob can be a little sticky, so just be gentle with it. And sometimes the headphone jack gets a little staticky or doesn't work. So that's why we have a bunch of extra headphone jacks just under the counter here that you can plug your headphones into. But that is your quick overview of the broadcast board in the WGDR studio.